Heidi, okay.
We'll give it another minute or two to start the presentation.
Chris, if you want to take a look at slide 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's two links there. One is for a Padlet and one is for Google resources in a Google folder. If you want to have those ready, so if people aren't able to pull them up in the presentation, then you could have it in the chat. I think that's the bulk of, oh, and then, okay, what slide? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Slide 11, the standard guides, is another linked Google folder.
Okay.
That we'll have ready to, if they want to open it.
Okay, I'll get them. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. We are live on YouTube.
We are. Okay, I think we're ready to start our Cahperd presentation, if you're ready.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to Cahperd Core Zoom presentations. My name is Patty Supay. I am this year's Cahperd president. I hope that you're enjoying these valuable presentations hosted by Cahperd. So far, the response has been overwhelming, and we are so pleased to be able to pull together these great presenters to offer teachers what they need. Behind the scene work is done every day by dedicated volunteers, such as those that are here today to help with the tech side of this presentation. So thank you so much tonight to our Cahperd volunteer, Shelby Lozano. Remember, the work that these people do and the great presentations from our presenters rely on your membership. Our jobs depend upon it. Before we bring on our special guest presenters today, we want to let you know that all of our sessions so far in this series are available on the Cahperd website, along with the resources that are utilized in each presentation. In addition, you can find these presentations on the Cahperd YouTube channel, as each session, including this one, is streamed live on YouTube. We also want to remind you that we still have one more health education session on October 27th, Comprehensive Sexual Health Resources and the California Healthy Youth Act. So please don't miss that. Today's core session is titled Health Education, New Resources for Synchronous and Asynchronous Activities. Our guest presenters are Janice Price and Christopher Pepper. Janice Price is the program specialist for the Health and Wellness team at the Orange County Department of Education and the current VP-elect for Health Education at Cahperd. Christopher Pepper is the present Cahperd VP for Health Education. Christopher worked as a high school health education teacher for over a decade, and he is now a health education content specialist at San Francisco Unified School District's Health Education Programs Department. He coaches new teachers, he writes curriculum, designs, and leads professional development, and advocates for high-quality health education instruction. In addition to Christopher's responsibilities as a teacher leader, he makes time to write, speak, and advocate nationally for quality health education. His work has been featured in distinguished outlets like the New York Times, National Public Radio, and Edutopia. In 2019, he received Cahperd's Health Education Leadership Award. And now we are excited to present to you tonight's speakers on health education, Janice and Chris.
Wonderful. Thank you so much and welcome everyone. I'm going to be sharing my screen today and Chris Pepper is going to be managing the chat with us while we're spending this hour together. So I would like you to use that chat section. Let's have discussions and conversations. We are very thankful that Cahperd is bringing health to the forefront and helping us promote health education. So I'm excited to see what nuances we'll be able to share together. Some of us might be PE teachers, health teachers, maybe adaptive PE teachers too, administrators that are looking at how do I bring health education as a priority in schools. We know that it's becoming, if there was ever a time, it would be now to bring health to schools, to talk about mental health, to talk about trauma, and especially with everything that's going on with COVID. So I hope that you find use in the resource that we're going to be sharing with you today. And love it to be an interactive meeting where we could be adding things in the chat. I shared the link to the presentation. I'll share it one more. We can share it one more time in the chat. It's open. So if you want to go in and add notes of things that you have been doing with your students or at your schools, it's an open area for us to be sharing ideas right now. And that's what's going to help us move health to the forefront. So I'm excited to do that with you tonight. So let me share my screen with you really quick, and we will start the presentation for us to be looking at this Google Slides slide deck together. So you have access to this where you'll be able to actually, when you click through here, whether you look at it in as a user, you might want to be looking at it in this mode. So if you go down to the bottom, you have it's kind of the notes section too, versus the present mode that would be over here. And you'd only be able to look at what your presentation is. So if you want to be using these small icons off to the side, this allows you to be able to add notes, right? To be able to come into the speaker area down here and add some notes. Or later, when I get to a part of the presentation, there's going to be these text boxes that I would like you're going to be coming in as a user, and you are going to type in here as we do this activity together. So I wanted to be able to show you how to do that, of being able to come in here together. Okay, so a quick little hands up if we were to look in our the opportunities to participate in Zoom. If you were to give like a thumbs up that you're in the PowerPoint and or the Google slide, and that you're going to be able to participate with us. And if you have any questions, let us know in the chat so we can help get you connected to this technology part. I'll give you a second to do that. As we know, like working through synchronously, meaning that we're doing things together, versus asynchronously, where you're on the computer by yourself. Someone talked about it as advanced homework is what asynchronous work is. We definitely want to make sure that technology is not a barrier to everyone. So Marie, you have a hands up. Is that a question or like a thumbs up? You're good. You can take yourself off mute if you need. Think we're okay?
Yes, and Janice, people wanted to let you know that because we're in a webinar format, they're not able to respond in some of the ways that you can use.
Oh, the presentation?
So
okay,
don't wait around for their thumbs up because you won't see it, but they're here and responding in the chat.
Thank you. Okay, great. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started then. We have the plan for tonight is I've been having the wonderful opportunity at the Orange County Department of Education to be able to help roll out the California Health Education Framework, which, as we know, in education, we have our standards, and then we have the framework that tells us how to teach those standards and provides that guidance, right? I see some of you as participants that you're even on those committees with us for health education. So great to see you here. I hope this isn't going to be too much of a review for you, but hopefully it will you'll hear it again and remember how much we are moving health education and shifting it to provide resources that will make it easier for teachers to do more health education in the classroom. So I have a couple updates for you about that. I wanted to share with you this wonderful Padlet that's been made across all of the content areas: English language arts, math, science, and guess what? Health has one too. And we are so happy that we're able to be at that level of providing a Padlet. I'm sorry, I should revert a little bit. This Padlet is created with all of the superintendents in mind of County Office of Education through CISC, Curriculum of Office and Instruction, at the county superintendent level. So that's how everything from the top gets brought down to the school level. And we actually have our own section there with health education. So I wanted to share that with you, and that's where you can find the synchronous and asynchronous work that we are creating right now. We also too have some standard guides that I wanted to share with you. And then we're gonna end with our trick or treats. I thought October is definitely Halloween and fall month. So I'm gonna share some tricks and treats, and maybe you can share some tricks and treats too that you're doing. But as we get started, I thought I got to do this activity the other day when we were talking about inclusive instruction and being very cautious of every student in our classroom and being able to relate with them. And so many times when we hear from students, especially when they are able to speak 2 languages and English is their second language, that when they often do like role in the classroom, that it's almost some of the most embarrassing times that they can remember, and hurtful when people were trying to pronounce their names and it just got choppy. And then they started having like nicknames for themselves so that people wouldn't, mispronounce their name. So instead of saying Guillermina, it's easier just to say Mina. And then it was almost Americanizing their name too, and it was losing the wonderful tradition and culture and family identity that comes in our name. There's a wonderful book out there. I might have to send it to you later because I can't think of it. It was read to us. And the whole idea is that instead of us, when we introduce each other and saying like a roll call, it's giving the students an opportunity to teach us your name. So we all have a story to our name. And I would love if anybody would like to come off of mute. You can come off of mute, right? In a webinar type. I'm learning a little bit right now, I guess, tonight. Can our audience join us in conversation?
I can allow them to talk. However, it sounds like we are having some sound issues from you, Janice.
Oh.
You're kind of cutting in and out in some parts. I'm not sure why, but it's been, we're gonna, other than you, we're gonna turn off our cameras for the other 3 panelists. We're gonna keep our camera off and see if that helps.
Okay.
But they can't unmute because we're in a webinar format.
Okay.
But if there's someone who would like to speak, I can allow them to talk. If I see like, oh, let's say like Patty would really like to share something, then I can allow her to talk, and it can work that way.
Maybe we'll stick with the chat for tonight. And I appreciate all of you being flexible as I am learning this platform too. So in the chat, if you could and write your name, but with a little bit of a story, like 2 or 3 sentences, like my parents named me after a grandfather, or as far as my name, Janice, my mom definitely was a Janis Joplin fan. So you'll notice that my name is spelled Janis, which is just like Janis Joplin. So the story of my name definitely goes that way. And so it's a fun way to hear how our students have their identity and the names that they've been given, and how much our names are a gift. So if everybody could share a quick story about your name there in the chat, and then we can be able to read the story behind our names. Interesting. Look at all these stories. Isn't this wonderful? Celeste. Many people would just think it's Celeste, but pronounced AY. Kimberly definitely has a unique way of spelling it, which makes it a beautiful story that goes with it. Ooh, someone was named after the smell of jasmine flower. Megan, can you imagine Megan is unique? They had never heard of it before though, so they liked the name Megan. My middle name is Howard, same as my father. This is Chris Pepper, his uncle, and probably some relatives before that. So important, our names. And as you continue to fill in the chat and share your stories, I just like to remind us that as educators, we have an opportunity to bring out the best in our students and to hear the assets that they can bring to us in health education, but it really in any of the content areas. But health is just a beautiful way to talk about the whole child. And we connect with social emotional learning. We're able to give life skills that students will use for the rest of their life. So I encourage you, as you're listening to health education, and maybe you're coming at it with a different lens of being a PE teacher, but you're wanting to do it more, I commend you and thank you for coming today to open your mind and to be willing to hear about what health education looks like. And it probably is a little bit different than maybe how you had it in middle school or high school. So I'm excited to share that with you. Yes. Okay. Chris Miller, hello. I'm so glad you're here. Okay, so there's my little pedestal as far as loving our students, bringing out their stories of who they are, recognizing and giving them the opportunity to teach us. You know, if we're ever in doubt, just ask them to tell us. We don't have to assume everything and teach them all the time. They often can be our teachers too. So let's move into health education and talking about how much health education has shifted, because that's going to lead into the activities that we have for you to be able to look at today and the resources that have been made. So I wanted to share with you this great image that has been created due to the framework to help us see how health education is not about sitting back in a class and taking down a whole bunch of notes about statistics and how much, eating unhealthy fatty foods is going to affect heart disease and just memorizing those percentages and only learning about the anxiety and depression, but never getting a tool of how I can manage this and learn coping skills that I can use for the rest of my life. Or, yeah, I need to say no to drugs, but how do I say that to my best friend who wants to hang out with me and I want them to lead a healthier life too? How do I say that? I definitely love how our health education standards show health literacy and that it's increased. A student will have an increased health literacy if you're able to practice all of these skills with the students. And then as you remember, or it might be a new thing for you too, is that health education is not all about just alcohol, tobacco, and drugs and sex education either, sexual health. If you notice, there's 6 different icons here, which helps us remember that there's 6 different content areas that we teach in health. So you have nutrition and physical activity, individual growth and development, which is, yes, where sexual health will come into play. But at 5th grade is where we start talking about contraceptives and things like that. In individual growth and development in kindergarten and 1st grade, you start to learn a lot about what healthy relationships look like and learning personal boundaries and what is appropriate and not appropriate in individual growth and development. Injury prevention and safety, everything from wearing your helmet to dating violence and learning what's in a good relationship, and so on and so forth. Fire safety, emergency preparedness, alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. I know that that's a very common topic, especially with all the funding that we have that comes into our schools with tobacco education, but also too, there's nuances. I mean, we need to talk about prescription drug use with our students these days in 2020. We need to be talking about the vaping crisis that we have, and that content is all covered in that area. Mental health. I am so thankful that we have mental health because as a content area, everybody's looking for a social emotional learning curriculum, and our answer is teach health. you'll see that there's standards for mental emotional health that all address self-management, responsible decision-making, and all of those key parts of social emotional learning. And then lastly, you're going to see the personal and community health. So how much our health and our choices are affecting our community. Everything from communicable and non-communicable diseases, personal health and hygiene. But what about like the carbon footprint that we're leaving behind, or all of the trash that we're having at our schools because of food service, the way that the food is being thrown away in the normal school settings, right? So those are the 6 content areas that we cover in health. I definitely encourage you to be using this graphic if you want to. It's going to be coming out in all of the trainings and the new website that we have, healtheducation.org. Well, we're developing it. It's not definitely published yet, but this graphic is going to help with that foundation of what does it look like to teach health. And I'd like you to take a minute. I'm going to stop talking for a second. Look at these standards, the way that they're listed in this ladder. Essential concepts, analyzing influences, accessing valid information. Where do you see all of that health content that you need to be teaching as far as like the facts and the statistics? Is that going to be at the bottom at essential concepts or at the very top of health promotion? We start with essential concepts at the bottom, or at the base, the foundation. We need to know what it is to be healthy, but we do not stop there. There's 7 other standards that we addressed in health education, taking those facts and then doing something with them. And that's the shift in health education that's new to many, many, many of our school systems, that it's not just about the facts anymore. So who's ready to see some resources to help us get to this shift in health education and produce some things? Oops, we have a little typo there. I think when I started typing earlier to show you how to get in here, I'm going to go ahead and actually go into present mode then, if we're not going to be able to join together, which is totally fine. And you guys have links to the presentation now too. But what I wanted to let you know about as far as those that are interested in health education is that we do have a new framework that was produced in 2019. And we are happy to say that that has everything added when it comes to our California Healthy Youth Act, so CHIA. It has updates when it comes to access and accessibility. And it's just a wonderful resource. I've heard people comment that this framework is one of the most user-friendly and applicable framework that they have read of the other content areas. So very proud of that. Some of you on this group might have even been a part of helping to write it. So congratulations, kudos. We're just waiting for it to be printed. It's not printed yet. So if you go to California Department of Ed, CDE's website, you'll need to download chapter by chapter. And that's kind of what we're at right now under the COVID and everything that's been causing us. So we definitely are waiting. But there's a lot of training coming your way. So like it says in the chat, we have contracts with every single county of Office of Ed in the state of California, right, to give you training. We have written the trainings, and now they're starting to produce that. It was going to be in person, but now they're all going to be online. So which actually will be just a little bit more condensed and maybe easier for us. There's funding to even pay for a teacher to attend outside of their contract day. And there's going to be 4 sessions. So keep an eye out. If you have not heard of anything yet, either contact me or Chris. We will get you connected with who is in charge of it at your county office of ed, or you reach out. It's definitely going to be someone probably that manages health and wellness related things. A lot of times it tends to be like a TUPE related person, tobacco ed, or some of the social emotional learning advisors too. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out for it.
Janice, people wanted to let you know that for the folks who are on the Google Slides deck, they can edit those reflection boxes. So if you want to use that feature.
Okay. Yay, yeah. Thanks for working with me on this.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, this is fantastic because, right, you don't want to just sit and get for an hour. So let me go into this next section, and I'm very happy to hear that you are able to add into these boxes. Yay, look it, hello. Okay, so what I like to do is there's two resources here that I'm excited to share with you. One of them is that Padlet that's being shared across the state of California with all the content areas. The second one is Yes Dairy Council, where a lot of people are very familiar with their workbooks. However, we have actually taken them and put them into Google Slides so that they could be a synchronous or asynchronous set of lessons that you could do with your students. So we're going to start with looking at the Padlet, and you can join me on the screen, or if you wanted, actually, please join me on my screen first so I can explain to you what the Padlet looks like and how to navigate yourself through it. And what I'd like to do is, after this brief introduction, is I was going to give you about 10 minutes to go browse it on your own and come back and write your reflections in those boxes in the Google Slides. Okay, that was my plan. So what I'd like you to see is each of these titles, is the content area, right? So again, CISC is your curriculum instruction that's at the superintendent level. And so we can go into the health Padlet that we've made. And what you're going to notice off the side over here on the left in the black is going to be our 6 content areas. So if you wanted to do something around nutrition and physical activity, you could click in here and you're going to see resources that have already been made for hybrid learning. So for example, resources like the Catch at Home. You have the some shape resources too, Open Phys Ed. You might be very familiar with these, being physical activity yourself. Nutrition Nuggets are great. They have already, Santa Barbara County Superintendents of their County Office of Ed has already made presentations here also that are easy for you to, you can see, click right here. All of these have been made to be interactive over like a Google Classroom and things like that too. So we have nutrition, but we have also too individual growth and development. Great links to videos. And we're going to talk about this in the next session we have, October 27th, sexual health. But ultimately, there's resources already connected here for you to be able to integrate this into your hybrid learning. We have a question from Claudia. I'll take a pause for a second. Okay, I'm not able to hear. If you have a question though, you could put it in the chat too, and we'll be able to answer it that way. But ultimately, what I'd like you to see off of this resource, again, is these 6 content areas over here. And then you can get a gist of what these look like, right? Each of these pictures are going to be a link to a curriculum that has already been made for distance learning. So we hope that that's going to be a great resource for you. In the moments, just a second, when I give you time to browse, this might be one area you want to come and look at is this CISC Padlet, and then bookmark this, the Padlet also. The other thing I'd like to show you is the Dairy Council distance learning, and Celeste is on this call. Kudos to Celeste, who's put these together. If any of you are in lower elementary and doing nutrition education, you're probably very familiar with the Dairy Council. But what I wanted to show you here, for example, grade 5, is we went ahead, you can choose any of the districts, it doesn't matter. But we went ahead and put we put every single workbook page in a workbook. You know how they have their workbooks by the grade level, right? We made a Google slideshow for all of them. So it'd be very easy for a teacher to input this into their Google Classroom and be able to run a nutrition lesson. Now, you might want to be synchronous with your students and go through this presentation together, like what I'm doing with you. You might want to have it asynchronous, where you do a screencastify and record yourself talking over these. Or it's just to do on your own, because what we've done is we've actually built in, all of these images are straight from the student handbook, but we've actually made it to where in the activities, the students would go and play games, but they'd also too would complete assignments where it would upload your assignment to your Google Classroom and Gradebook. This is one example. Grade 4 actually has a, I wanted to show you, let me come out of grade 5. The charts that we've made that link to your, here we go, the food. In these lessons, you do a lot of tracking. So how do you do that when you're not, when the student doesn't have the workbook, right? We've made these where you're able to, if you go to slide number 4, you'll see that we've already taken this sheet out of the workbook, and we've made a Google sheet so that you could assign it as a teacher, right? You'd assign it for the students to complete, and they'd be able to turn it in for an assignment. So it takes that work that's normally a, right, done on the own, individual work, independent work of a workbook, and you're able to put it through Google Classroom. Now, as I give you a couple minutes to browse through these resources, I would like to share with you the, let me get back out here a little bit. In this Dairy Council folder that you have linked, you have all of these lessons that are linked, but pay close attention to this educator's toolkit that Celeste has made, because you're able to actually see how to use different tools we've put in here. Like if you're like, man, I've heard about Screencastify, but I don't quite know how to do it. We have made demo videos for you to see how to do it. Or maybe the Kahoot is new to you, or Jamboard. There's demos in here of how to use the educator, how to use those tools as well. So those are the fun 2 tools that I wanted to go over with you today, and you have them linked in the presentation. Some of you I might have already lost, which is definitely fine. You could tell we're adult learners, and if we see something we like, we're going to dive into it. So I'd like to just take these couple minutes. I was thinking about 5 minutes for you to review either both or one of those documents, but I'd love for you to come in to slide 6 and share. What are your wowzers? What are things that you're like, oh, this is so cool, I can't wait to use it. Wow, I didn't know that these Amaze videos are so great. But you might have some wondering still, like, what does it look like to teach injury prevention and safety in 6th grade? Or where are some questions you still might have? Or how do I upload to Google Classroom? You might have many different wonderings. And I've made, if you'll notice here, I've made 3 different slides of the same picture so that if we don't have to all be in the same one at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to be here for questions over the next 5 minutes and do a quick check-in as far as everybody's clear on what you're doing. You're reviewing these 2 resources that I shared in slide 5. You're going to go do your independent learning and do your own investigations. And you're going to come back and you're going to tell us what are some wowzers and what are some wonderings. And looking at the time, I can't I see a lot of people are very happy with the Padlet. It's a great resource. And if anybody else is typing, we'll have this be your final thought and we'll move on, just to save time to make sure we have enough for the rest of it. But you're more than welcome to keep this slides, and we can keep adding to it after the course is over too. I keep using different words: webinar, course, whatever we want to call this, core session, right?
And Janice, if people have resources that they know about that aren't currently on the Padlet, is there a chance for them to submit those to be added?
Yes. In fact, let's jump really quick. Let's go to slide number 12. This is going to be your trick or your treat. You come in here, do a text box and link it right here if you want to do that. If we want a couple more minutes to do that, we could do that now. Slide number 12. Save my trick though. Don't touch that one yet. I want to be able to share it with you. Or I should say, if you could please wait. Okay, so it is going to be 5:40, and that we're going to move on. But I am so happy that this worked well for you, that you're able to write your wowzers and your wonderings, and we are now synchronously learning together, even though we are virtual. And easy ways to work with your students is have them type in the presentations that you're making, but make sure to just do several slides. I've learned from that on mistakes, that you're allowing multiple entry points when they want to come. But might take a second to get through that technology barrier if anybody has it though. Okay, so I'd like to go ahead and move on to help you know that some of us are, especially in Cahperd, right? Because we're health and PE, recreation and dance. You're probably wondering, is there a PE Padlet, or is there a PE CISC subcommittee? And we are very thankful to say that as of, I want to say it was March or April, especially, no, it's maybe, yeah, that especially with the nuances of the fitnessgram and the changes, that we are now advocating, and there has been a start of a physical education subcommittee. And take a look here, we have representation from Cahperd on that subcommittee. We also have the subject matter project, which is Diane Wilson-Graham and her team. There are several county Office of Ed leads that are helping on that committee. I'm totally starting from the bottom and going to the top. But I'm very thankful that Cahperd is a leader in this too. And at these subcommittees, you have the direct connection to supporting superintendents with the resources that they need, the communication tools that they need to make sure health and physical education stays a priority in schools. So wanted to just let you know that too, to encourage any of those people that are working on that, and also to become an advocate along with them to help communicate. So the other thing that I'd like to show you is going to be the guides that we've made to help with teaching these standards. So how many of you are like, man, that would be great if I could teach interpersonal communication. I think that my students really need it. And then you're like, man, but how do I teach that? Like, there's so much to communication, and what are the steps, and what's interpersonal communication at high school level versus interpersonal communication in kindergarten? Where is that difference, and how do I do that? So being a health teacher myself, I struggled with it. And I found that there wasn't a lot of resources that helped me do that. So we decided to make these standard guides, and you have links to them. They're linked in this presentation. If you were to click on standard guides, it would take you to a Google folder. But hold on for 1 second before you do that, because I wanted to be able to explain to you how we've set up these guides to help you be a better a health teacher that is really teaching high quality health education. So when you teach skills, you want to look at the steps of teaching skills. You always have to start with the why it's important and bring that the reality and that connection with your students. So help them realize why it's important. So take a look over here at the image, and you can see why is interpersonal communication important. And there's a description right here, actually taken right out of our standards and our framework, but it's just a quick, easy tool for us to read. Okay, so why is that skill so important for us? So positive relationships support the development of healthy attitudes, so on and so forth. Then, in order to teach high quality skill development, we need to model what that looks like to our students. We need to give them an example and walk them through the example first before we send them on their way to practice, right? So we model as a teacher and we go through these steps together. So this is a middle school interpersonal communication standard where you could see the steps that you want to make sure, the cues that you want to make sure are happening when you're communicating. So in other words, that you're expressing your needs and ideas and opinions. Is your communication clear and organized? Are you using a respectful tone of voice? Listen and clarify, and then show open, comfortable body language. I've been talking to my 5th grader about body language. I mean, that's a very interesting, and you need to teach about body language with our students. And last but not least, the I messages, right? But then we also we need to help our teachers with knowing the different refusal skills that we need to be practicing in middle school. If we're going to give them an assessment and say, show me how you refuse drugs, and we never teach them the refusal skills, then we're not equipping them with the resources that they need, a toolbox to be able to pull from to say no to their best friend who wants them to vape with them, right? So these are all going to be on your guide. But when you click in here, the standard guides, you're also going to see posters, because what we've made is, imagine these icons right here with no words around them, no of the why and the stand. It just shows you what those cues are, so you could put them easily in your classroom or something like that. So when you go into that folder, you're going to see the standard guides, and then you're going to see posters. But another tool that we've done with these, I keep clicking, another down below on the standard guides is we've also showed where these skills are brought up in the other content areas, right? We have 6 different content areas. So where is interpersonal communication brought up in mental health, in nutrition and physical activity? We've pulled that out of the framework and put it at the bottom of these guides for you to continue to remember how much a tool the framework can be for you to be able to teach high quality health education. So that's kind of where we're at right here with these guides. Looking at the time that we have, though, I'd love for you to just save this Google folder. Know that when you go to all of your trainings over the next year, these are going to be referenced there too. And you'll have many opportunities to use these and to practice with them and to get more training on them. But this was kind of like a highlight of something that's coming your way when it comes to health education. In the meantime, though, if you're dying to use these and you want some support, don't hesitate to call Chris or I and ask, for a little bit more guidance or a little bit more clarification. We're here to help you with all of that too. Okay, so those are going to be the standard guides that we are wanting to share with you guys. Now is where we were going to talk about any nuances of new curriculum that that's online. I saw on the Wonderings, people were asking about CPR. And I know the Red Cross has online classes for CPR too. So we could go take a look at that real quick. You could, again, come into this presentation. You're in this slide, you're just going to grab a text box and you're going to insert a text box and you can type right here if you'd like, what your curriculum is. You can insert a link right there if you'd like. And I'll give you a couple minutes to do that before I go into the one that's linked here too. Chris, I thank you so much. You're doing a great job in the chat.
Thank you for collecting all these resources. I think they're terrific, and I know that people are appreciating getting to share with one another. So for people who are on the slide deck, if you have anything that you've seen or that has worked well for you, feel free to add that to slide 12. I see a couple people typing on there, but we would love to see your ideas on there.
I've recently heard in tobacco education, there is an app that you can download and you can get like daily reminders of encouraging and coping strategies to encourage you not to do those vaping devices and things like that too. If anybody is using a resource like that too, a great app that you're finding, a mood meter. Students love mood meter and helping you label your emotions. Okay, what time are we looking at? Oh, good. Drug education. I know like the Stanford Toolkit has things online too. Oh, that's listed under the Padlet. Yeah. Okay. Who is ready? I am so excited about this resource. Our districts in Orange County, and some of yours might have it too, have a very large mental health grant that's coming through our health department. And many of them are coming up with resources to help not just students, but staff during this time. So take a look at this. It's called a virtual calming room. And look at all of these resources to help. Look at this. All of these resources to help students and staff with our mental health during this time. So you can see there's tons of resources here. Again, they're using a Google site to quickly post things, be able to update them along the way, how important journaling is. I've learned to bullet journal over these past couple months. That's been very, very fun and helpful for me to track and to monitor. Again, you have this link. You have access to this virtual calming room. I have a couple more too, if you want to take a look for some other districts. But I was so happy, thankful, excited to see what our districts are putting together for staff wellness during this time too, because I'm hearing about secondary trauma. In other words, where a teacher is online with their students and they're watching a parent that's being very almost on the level of aggressive with their child, or a student that is, begging the teacher for attention and help or lacking food and all that we are experiencing as teachers. We're watching this happen. And we need to understand that that's almost like a post-traumatic stress disorder type thing, right? Or it burdens us and we feel that because we have social awareness as being adults and trained. So how do we help each other through this? So to see these virtual calming rooms, I was really excited about that.
Janice, there's a question in the chat about, it looks like this link to the calming room is available to anyone on the internet. Is it okay to use it in other districts, or what would you tell people about that question?
I would say, yes, you can reference it, but I wouldn't copy everything from them. I mean, but I haven't heard anything that we can't, because it's being shared across all of our health networks, all of our consortiums and groups that we have. So yes, you can use it. It's public funds too that created it. So there's another one. If you go into the notes section, right? More surprises. If you go into the notes section of our presentation, this Google site is from Newport Mesa. So just another district, but doing the same type of ideas where you definitely have different, ultimately the same idea, but just a different style. I've heard, when you look at sounds and music, I've heard of teachers talking to students about helping them make playlists, relaxation playlists. Highly encourage on that one too. So there's 2 links to some virtual calming rooms. And what a great project. I mean, if we have interns right now, I'm going to definitely head them to that direction of helping us make like a county-wide virtual calming room, or maybe you can make one within your own department or something like that too. Or what a great youth development project of having students create calming rooms that they are using themselves with all of their interests and their passions, and really you're universally designing this to make it appropriate and accessible to them. So great stuff that's out there right now. Really great. And just very proud of health education, proud of you. I mean, look at you taking time out of your day to still try to better yourself in professional learning, and know that what we're doing right now is for our students and for ourselves too. So kudos, and thanks for being here tonight too. As I close though, I wanted to let you know, again, remember we talked about this, all of this professional learning that's coming through the state around health education. So know that there's going to be 4 sessions. And remember, there's 6 content areas in health. And so what we're doing is we're dividing each session off of the different content areas. So remember the content areas as they're listed in slide 10. Ultimately, right, the next one that's coming is nutrition and physical activity. This is mental and emotional health. That's the next session that's coming out. So really, really, please put that as a to-do list, if I have some extra time to make sure that you're getting grounded in this. I do hope that in the future, as Cahperd members, that we will continue talking about all of these resources in health education too. I commit to that, that's for sure. And Chris is on that panel too. So I imagine we're going to be supporting these along the way. So 4 sessions.
I really feel like this is a time where California has stepped up to support health education. And I know from talking to colleagues across the country that that is not true in other states and areas. A lot of times, a lot of places are really struggling to have a class like this. In California, this is a time of growth and a time of real support on the statewide level, starting with the framework and all of these tools and resources that are being curated and put together for you and to help our districts share resources and be more similar from place to place in what we're teaching and the skills we're trying to build with our students, and ultimately the health outcomes that we want to see with our young people.
Okay. I would say in this slide too, this would be a great opportunity in slide 13. If you haven't heard about this yet, give me your email address in the chat with what county you're with, and I can make sure to connect you and let you know when the trainings are happening and keep you updated on that information. So come down here in the notes section of the presentation, and then you could write your name. Okay. And as we close off, I'm going to leave it on the slide at the end. That's just having us remember and be thankful for Cahperd everything that they're putting together for us to stay up on our professional learning during this time. And I'm very excited to announce too about how Christopher Pepper, as well as Amy Strevel, she's from Orange County Planned Parenthood. We're going to be putting together a presentation to help with the guidance around sexual health, and the fact that even though we're virtual does not mean that that goes away, that we definitely need to stay very upfront with our students and providing them with that education, standards-based. but also the fact that we're starting to collect data and hearing from parents that are being very appreciative of seeing what their students are doing firsthand. And it's opening up conversations and allowing them to feel a little bit more comfortable talking to their students too about healthy relationships, identity, and everything that goes together in those standards that we have. So I encourage you to join us on the 27th. It'll again be 1 hour, just like how this one is. And we'll keep up with keeping health as the forefront. Okay, and I think beyond that, I mean, I'll leave the presentation open for a little while, but with the time remaining, we're open for questions, comments, or any other suggestions that we could leave the night with. I think a lot of you guys are in writing your names. That's fantastic. I'll make sure to get you guys your information. And feel free to share this with any of your fellow professional. I mean, health standards are written kindergarten through 12th grade. Now, granted, you don't have to teach every single content area, each grade level. However, we should be teaching a lot more health. So if you have a 3rd grade health elementary teacher that you're really good friends with, they have 3 content areas that they should be teaching in health. So maybe they want to come with you to these trainings too. And then of course our upper middle and high school teachers too. Well, great. I hope to see all of you on the 27th and maybe even too at a conference sooner or later as we celebrate Cahperd and everything that they've offered for us too as members. So I wish you guys all a healthy and happy fall. We won't say Halloween since we're not quite sure about trick-or-treating and all of those type of things with different counties, but I hope you are doing well with all of our burdens that we have right now, but seeing there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
I want to close out by thanking Christopher and Janice for a great presentation, lots and lots of valuable information. So please remember that you can ask any of your colleagues that were unable to attend this tonight. I think it was a very valuable presentation. Remind them they can find this presentation on the Cahperd website as well as the Cahperd YouTube channel. And thank you once again and hope to see all of you on the 27th.